Take a second and put your thinking cap on. Listen to this interesting clip from Alex Karp, CEO of Palantir.
The thing that's interesting about large language models is they're, like many artists, they are absolutely unique in their capabilities, and then they also can't really go buy a pack of cigarettes or get a coffee off the ground. Like, they don't add well, they hallucinate. Yeah. You know, I think if you approached large language models as they themselves are great artists, as opposed to they're great scientists, you'd have a much better, accurate understanding. And therefore, I think they partner very, very well with creative people who...
What I like about here, Alex Karp is breaking it down and basically saying if we view these large language models like ChatGPT, like the Google's AI, Microsoft, all the other ones are going to come over the next 10 years, is looking at them in their own perspective, they are an artist at heart. They can create a lot of information. The question is, who can come in and how do we make sense and bring a scientific approach actually analyzing the things that these large language models or artists can create? And that's what Palantir does. They come in and they provide a utility factor for these large language models and make sense of the enormous amount of data that these LLMs or artists can provide. And I really like that connection right there. And I think just looking in terms of a theory and getting more into intellectual thinking, there is a great argument for what Alex Karp is saying there. Now, getting off of that, let's talk about PLTR stock. What we have going on, what could be possibly going on into next week. Especially, one of the biggest questions is this AI rally just going to continue? And are the investors going to be ignoring the potential pauses for interest rate cuts? Or will the Fed have a larger influence and eventually cause a profit-taking cascade? Now, if you are a new or a returning viewer, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos. And of course, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just collecting all the data and dispatching it to you. Always do your own research out there. Now, what we do have going on with Palantir specifically, let's talk about the price action. Friday close, $22.97, still above the 20s, which is great after that exponential and hyper growth period that we've seen in the last 6 months, up over 50%. Palantir in the 20s right here, finding its ground. Consolidating right here will be important, especially for the future if Palantir wants to hold above those 20s, because that was the previous strong resistance point. And where Palantir sits at right now at $22.97, down 2.6% from the last trading session, if we see a continuation of bullishness coming into this AI hype cycle and NVIDIA continues to grow, and if it can even break above $800, we could see this rally still continue. However, that's one of the big questions that we do need to analyze right here. And Morningstar puts out a great article that I do want to go through. And this is, should the stock market investors stop worrying about the Fed and just keep loving AI? And one thing that we are seeing right now, and I can't agree with more, is that right now it seems that investors care more about the NVIDIA CEO, Jensen right here, than what the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell has to say. And especially with the large breakout earnings that NVIDIA had, sending the stock through the roof. Investors are weathering or depending, kind of wondering if they're wasting their energy fretting over the economic cycle and the timing of the Federal Reserve interest rate cuts, which right now the probability for those March interest rate cuts is continuing to dwindle. And should they just instead embrace the rally that has been led by NVIDIA and all the other AI stocks, and the AI demand started to broaden their sectors and make returns on that? And basically, it's a pretty picture of Morningstar here. It says that one is unlikely, however, to come together so seamlessly. And it happens that the Federal Reserve's favorite inflation metric, the core reading, remember we had the January data, we had 2 reports that came out hotter than expected. But one thing that we do know, and that investors know, is that the Fed emphasized that this 1 month data does not make a trend. We need more continuous months reports to make a trend about what's going to be happening with inflationary data. That is why February, I think, is going to be a large month in terms of the volatility that these inflation reports will have on the market. And trying to get back towards that inflation target zone for the central bank's 2% target still has a decent while to go. So as we see here, investors came into 2024 pricing in that 6 to the 7 quarter percentage point rate cuts over the course of the year. This is not looking to appear that it will come to fruition like originally thought. And that now what we're seeing is somewhat a better than 50% chance that cuts will begin in June and that the Fed will deliver only 3 or 4 cuts by the end of the year, unlike previously thought about the 6 or 7. So inflation is proving to be harder than expected to basically cut down. And this prospect on the Fed, if there's any type of interest rate hikes again or a long delay in any type of cuts, we could see a major shock to the market. Of course, it's important to understand that the catalyst that we have seen for this explosion is the AI demand, and Palantir included. And that's where we would get and could expect some volatility because of the lofty valuations that are behind these AI stocks right now. And Motley Fool comes out with an interesting article talking about these flying high artificial stocks that Wall Street is saying that could sink 20% or more. What's one of the first stocks on the list? Palantir Technologies. And with that, despite all the great news, Wall Street isn't excited about the stock's prospects. And the average price target actually for Palantir, according to Wall Street price targets, is roughly showing a downside of about 20%. However, Wall Street has not been right about the previous movements that we've seen in Palantir and all the other AI stocks included. They have quickly and exponentially outbeat what the expectations are. However, with that being said, you have valuations ranked at an F for PLTR. Growth, profitability, momentum, revisions, all at an A. This company is doing very well. I can't agree anymore. And that will come time. If we do see interest rates that are going to continue, or if investors take more of an important settlement on the actual inflationary data, Palantir has the balance sheet, lots of money on hand, to survive any type of bear market, to see a drop right here. And for people that are looking to get into more of a long-term position and to either dollar cost average, if they bought at these higher price zones, that could be a very bullish and a very, I want to say, great return for people that are looking here in the long-term run, because it looks like Palantir is not slowing down. And that's why Data Dispatch here, we are staying bullish on PLTR and the AI stocks in the long term. However, in the short term right here, really what Morningstar is pinpointing is, could we possibly see any type of changes in the global macroeconomic impact and factors and variabilities? We could see a reduction in Palantir's price. However, that is not necessarily a bad thing. The point is, if you just look at NVIDIA and PLTR, NVIDIA specifically, within the previous few months, we've seen NVIDIA basically climb from $400 all the way up to $800, nearly doubling its whole valuation. And I saw recently that the market cap is now higher than Canada's economy. If we take a second to just bring that into perspective, you can see right now there is a lot of buying pressure and momentum and fantasy behind the AI demand, and we are right now in an AI bubble. This does not mean that this will continue. We could see this rally that is still continuing. However, for people that are looking to get more into value-oriented stocks, PLTR probably want to be the best option out there. Any of the AI stocks probably want to be the best option out there. But as we see this continue, Palantir is continuing to soar, and it will grow into its higher valuations. This is only going to come with time. So I'll tell you right now, next week is going to be very interesting, and especially as we lead up to that February inflationary report, that I think is going to be a key catalyst on what could be driving the market within the next few months. There's a lot of interesting things happening out there right now in the economy, and especially with a lot of tensions that are continuing to rise, not just from global but foreign affairs. Palantir, the stock market in general, not just specifically looking at Palantir, could have a lot of fluctuations. But as we see right now, and as we see fit, we see a big rally, and basically investors are continuing to ignore what the Fed has to say about interest rates. We've seen this, especially after those January cuts came in, or those January hotter inflationary reports came in. All that was fluffed off in about a day. So be careful out there, because at any day we could see this trend swing for the other side. That's really all that I have for you guys. It'll be interesting to keep you guys all updated on what could be happening into the market next year. Not next year, but the rest of the year. Sorry, I'm tired. And we'll keep you guys updated. Make sure you check out tomorrow for tomorrow's video, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out, take care, and have a great day.